Konnichiwa minasan. Konshu no shifutu jia podo kiasuto e yukoso. That was the hardest thing I've ever said. That's yo, what is this, bro? This doesn't even translate right. It says, "Hello, everyone. This week's Shift Technique High Podcast Picture."
Yeah, you got that from someone's comment last week, right? They gave you the translation.
Yeah, bro. What? Why did you make me say, "Hello, everyone"? This week's Shift Podcast High Technique Picture Welcome.
Just go with it, bro.
That's
It
jokes.
sounded good.
That's jokes. I think it's because like Japanese so loosely like translates, right? That like nothing really makes sense. But anyways, welcome back to the Shifting Gears podcast high welcome technique or whatever we're called now. Thank you for coming back for another week. This week we got a nice tier list for y'all of the new Twilight Masquarade decks. I got a bucket hat in California, which should surprise absolutely nobody because I do this every week and it costs me a lot of money, but I love it, so I keep doing it. We got this smiley face bucket hat. This was from a nice Mexican lady in a cart on the side of the street. And I saw it and I said, "How much?" And she said 30, and I said 20, and she said bet. And then now here I am with a bucket hat with a happy face
Bro,
on
I
it.
feel like you could have haggled some more if she was willing to go that down to 20 that fast.
I'm a really bad haggler, like terrible.
That was US dollars too,
So,
man. That was like 26 Canadian bones there.
yeah, my cowboy hat like last week was like 30 Canadian. This was 20. Like I don't want to cheap out on the Shift Gear High Welcome Technique podcast.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
I think
So-
our listeners really appreciate it, Daniel. So thank you for being so dedicated. Since I don't wear bucket
I'm the
hats,
best.
maybe I should start wearing some. But
We're non for profit over here.
yeah, yeah. LA was a good time, I think, for both of us. We both did like decent, not like crazy well. You started well, and kind of the wheels kind of fell off there.
Lol.
Yeah, LA was super good for me. I stayed with one of the families of a kid I coached, so shout out to the Ciaran family. What else did I do? I got assaulted by the hot dog ladies.
Nice.
Yo, that was scary,
Beautiful.
man. Every time you walk through, hot dog, hot dog, hot dog, hot dog. Like you,
Yo, it was like a gauntlet of like 12 men
Yeah.
trying to sell me a sauteed hot dog. Like, bro, relax.
have you seen like I think it's Finding Nemo with like the seagulls or whatever.
Yeah,
that's
I remember
what it reminded
Yeah,
me
yeah,
of. I was like, damn. But I'm like, I respect the hustle.
Bro.
Like, get the bag. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Get
good.
your bag, sis.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, no, LA's a good time. We'll go over our runs in a sec. I don't think anyone cares. We'll do it anyways. So first of all, I want to announce the winner of our giveaway of our half a box that I have. Where is it? Right here in this lovely bag. I have
Nice.
18 booster packs in here. I think this is like a bubble tea bag. Yeah, Kung Fu Tea is what this is called.
nice.
This is provided by Banana Games. Shout out Banana Games. Please visit their website down below in the comment section. And the winner, as I rolled earlier, is Jack Knight Burst. So Jack Knight Burst, actually local of Toronto, so we do know Jack Knight Burst. Please send us a DM. We will get you that free half a box. Courtesy of Banana Games. So shout out Banana Games. Always getting our back. So yeah, so let's go through our runs like real quick. I know it's old format. No one really cares anymore. It's NAIC time, but I think we both had interesting enough days where we can go ahead and recap it. You started on stream, so tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I went on stream against Giratina Bennett. I don't know why they picked that matchup because it's like a horrible matchup for me. Like if my opponent just gets Bennett at like a reasonable time in the game, like I kind of just get locked out.
Yeah.
I cheesed
Yeah.
the first game because my opponent, he didn't really draw that well. The second game, he got Bennett. The third game, he was like faltering. And I didn't realize how little time was on the clock. I think whenever I play on stream, I also just play slower. So if I like turboed my last turn, I could have won if he missed Bennett again, which I think he had it in his hand, but like the next turn probably. But it was cool. That was actually my first time going on stream with Chien-Pao. Like I was actually like I felt like it was overdue that I haven't had the chance to play on stream with Chien-Pao. Like I feel like
Yeah.
that's my baby. I've had tons of Lugia games, but it's nice to finally get C-Pao on the stream. So
SMH. Lugia. Gross. But yeah, I guess, I mean, I saw that last, like, I just finished my round and I came over to look and I just saw your opponent, like, I thought he was going to troll, man. Like,
Me too.
It was, yeah, turn two at a time and he was, like, doing stuff. All he had to do was pass. I was like, yo, this guy's trolling. He's going to do something bad. But he didn't end up doing it. So, unfortunately for you, so I saw your day kind of went into a tie spiral. And, I mean, you started hot and you kind of continued it. But you went into day two at 6-2-1, right?
Yeah, I started 501. I faced a Lost Box decks, local from Toronto actually, Michael Meal. Like game three,
Shout out Neil.
I went first. Like game three, I'm like, all right, I just need turn two backs, and like I didn't get turn two backs, so obviously I just lost because I got Greninja. Then I faced Reagan in a mirror match, and normally mirror match is whoever goes first, but I actually won 2-0 with him going first both times because he had some awkward prizes. The first game he prized Ninja and hands, so he couldn't just like turn two, like get two prizes on me. So I was able to like flip the prize trade. He had a really cool line where he had to like hit my Chien-Pao for 130 with backs. Then he had to go like hands back to back. So it was a really intricate game. And the second one, he only got like 1 backs down. So like I was able to eventually like Moonlight Shuriken clear his board. We just had like a really intricate match, which I've never had in Chien-Pao Mirror. And I think it's probably because both of us are just so well versed with the deck. So I actually really enjoyed playing that Mirror match. And then last round I faced Lost Box and went second. So I got Greninja. So my matchups were really scuffed day one. There were 3 Mirror, 3 Lost Zone, 1 Tina Banette, and like 1 Arctina, I think. I think I forgot a deck.
That's pretty gross.
But like I faced 0 Charizard day one. I faced 1 Charizard the whole tournament. So
me too.
Yeah.
And day 2, not too great either.
No, I faced Golden Go day 1. And then yeah, day 2 I started off by playing as Golden Go Scizor, which is like just even worse than playing as regular Golden Go. And then like I flipped Double Tails on Silene to lose the second game, which was annoying. But I could have played better. I missequenced one of my turns, so I could have drawn like an extra 2 cards, I think, to try and draw a win on my last turn. Yeah, then I lost to a future hands deck where I couldn't get turn 2 attacks, and I lost to something else. I can't really remember. But yeah, I went 3-3 day 2, so not the best tournament, but it was just fun playing Ciaran as always. So
anytime Shift Gear can get 2 for 2 in a day 2, we'll take it,
yeah,
right?
It's not bad. So
yeah. No, I mean I had a weird tournament too, man. Like I started so hot. It started at 8-1, felt good. Really felt like that was the one for me. Felt like that was gonna be the tournament I could get this top cut monkey off my back, and oh man, Erica was not kind to me this weekend. I hit 4 controls in day 2, and like my deck doesn't have a bad matchup into stall. It's okay. But I was a turn 1 Erica's, so I started Arc Attach in my win-in for top 16. Started Arc Attach, I had a Bidoof in my hand, couldn't do anything about it, and I was like, hey, there's no way this guy just plays Erica. And he just played Erica, and I lost, and then I started Leaves, and I lost. So it's all good, man. Arctina's it was a good deck, it's a good call. I felt, I remember you were calling me out at the beginning of day 1.
That's debatable,
like,
bro.
It was a great
It's
pick,
a horrible
bro.
deck, bro.
It's a great pick.
It does nothing.
You can't say it's a horrible deck. Anyways, you were taking a dump on me at the start of day 1, so I was just glad that I was able to do that. It's like, so you didn't have that leeway on me, but
bro,
it was a good tournament.
I always say the worse that your deck that you play, the better you do. That's just how you are as a player. So
I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing.
You played a bad deck
but
and did well, bro.
Hey man, I guess I'll take it as a compliment. But yeah, it's gone. It's behind us. I don't think Arctina really survives into the new format. We'll have a chat about that in a sec. So I don't know. Like we can hop into the tier list right now. I think we want to talk a little bit about what decks before survive Twilight Masquerade and what ones don't. We have a little bit of data now to go off of, and most people are preparing for NAIC now. So we decided we're going to provide some useful content for once and kind of go through what's good and what's bad. So let's start with that. So let's start with the tier list of old, so to speak.
Yeah, so
which I believe you have on the machine.
Yeah, before we start, just want to say like how the tiers are. So I think S tier means like this deck is like way better than every other deck in the format. I feel like S tier should probably just be like one deck if we're gonna have one. So I don't know if there's gonna be an S tier deck. A tier is kind of like tier 1 in my opinion. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see any of these decks, or I would expect these decks to make top cut. I'd say B tier is probably like those like tier 2, maybe even tier 1.5 decks, where it's like, you know, you could have a good run with these. Like one could sneak into cut, but they probably have a power level a little bit lower. And then C is probably like tier 3, like it might make day 2, but I don't think it's capable of a run. And D tier is just like this deck's horrible. So yeah, those are the tiers. We have all the decks from this format, so we can discuss if they survive or not, and then we have all the new ones, so it should be good. I've played a decent amount of new format. I haven't played every single deck here, but we can have some good discussion. So, and yeah, you guys can let us know in the comments if you disagree with our opinions here. So, yeah, I think we're going to start with Charizard. This is Charizard Pidgeot, the king of this format. So I think from Twilight Masquerade, it gains Ciaran, like the card that does plus 30. It doesn't gain me as a player.
Yeah, to your own horn, bud. Let's go. All right, you let it out. Let's go.
I think that's the main card it gains. I think it might go back to playing Knox Belt just because Dragapult has so much health. And I personally think Charizard's still a really good deck. I think it's capable of making cut. It's capable of beating a lot of the format. We have seen, we'll talk about later, the Ogerpon deck get popular. Like Radiant Charizard is still a good card. So I don't foresee this deck really going anywhere. I just think its meta share might go down because people are excited to try all these new decks. So what do you think?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think Charizard's really slept on. I think the health and the stats of the card are going to carry it right until it rotates. It just feels good. And I think as a lot of people are realizing now, Dragapult is not what we thought it was. I do think Dragapult will break through, and that's a topic for when we get there. But I do think Charizard helps round out Dragapult as well. Like Charizard EX is a card, so wouldn't be surprised to see it in there. Charizard Pidgeot, always good. I mean, Charizard. Just thinking about Charizard just gives me flashbacks to like L.A. and the Los Santos server. I just spent like a week in basically, dude. Like, and we gotta talk about this for a second. So L.A. is not what I thought it was, and like you can also provide your opinion on this.
Okay.
But like and this is like an interlude to what we're doing, but LA in Toronto, at least to me, is painted as this like utopian place that just has like the balances of all the worlds together in one place. And I've never been to LA. I've been to California a few times, never to LA. It was not what I expected. Did you feel the same way?
No, I feel like it was exactly what I expected. It was actually probably
Really?
it was probably nicer than I expected.
No way.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I stayed in a nice part of the city, and like the tournament was downtown, so no, I liked LA. I thought it was good. I normally
No, I liked it.
I normally
It just
don't
wasn't
like
what I expected.
I normally don't like going to like these U.S. cities, so no, I liked LA. It was a good regional location. Maybe I just had different.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting like GTA map. I've never played that game, so
Yeah. You've never played GTA?
I played the 5th one like at your house one time, but I've never played it
Yeah.
on my own.
Dude, this actually explains so much about you. This makes a lot of sense, actually.
Why?
You're very, like, law-abiding citizen, like, just by the book. This makes a lot of sense. You just gotta go on GTA and do a drive-by, dude. You'll be changed for all your life. But, like, the one thing I will say about LA is, like, it was really nice. It was a lot colder than I thought it would be.
That I didn't
first of all.
expect. I did not. I packed like shorts and t-shirts plus like one pair of
Yeah,
pants.
dude.
So
And like the West Coast culture is something else. Like y'all are just different from us, and I love the West Coast culture. Like I vibe with it. Not to bring this back to like Drake versus Kendrick all over again, but listening to Euphoria while driving down the streets with my windows down was actually euphoric. Um, and the other thing, bro, I was in the washroom on day one. Okay, just at the pisser doing my thing, and there's 5 to my left. Okay, there's 5 urinals open. I'm just minding my own business. So Buddy starts at the far left. So he's looking at the far left. I guess he didn't like it. Okay, he's like shifting right. And I'm like, all right, bro, whatever. Choose the next one. Doesn't like the next one. Shifts right. Next thing I know, this dude's beside me. Okay, there's 5 empty urinals.
Breaking the
And he's
bro
right
code.
beside me. Yeah, and I'm like sitting here and I'm like, bro, is this like a West Coast thing? Like, what's going on in here, Ren? And like, he just pulls up straight face right next to me, thang out, doing his thing, and like I'm like staring forward like for my life. I'm like, please don't look at me, dog. Like I don't want to talk to you like this. And anyways, like I was just so like shell shocked by this whole experience. And if that happened in Toronto, bro, people would throw hands. Like
no, I don't think people would throw hands,
happen.
bro. I think people would just be like, "Yeah, what's going on?" I thought you were gonna.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say the guy was just like a huge Shift Gear fan. He just wanted to talk to you while you were at the urinal.
That'd be kind of fire. We
No.
did have a lot of like different people on the West Coast that I didn't know we reached come out to us this weekend. A lot of people I never met because like it's a totally different clientele to what you see out here, like at indie regionals or any like the Midwest regionals. But yeah, that guy unfortunately was not a Shift Gear fan, and I still to this time I don't know what his deal was. I got in, got out, washed my hands quick, and I got the hell out of that bathroom before I could find out. So that's my little snippet of the day. Anyways, back to business.
So yeah, while
Yeah.
you were talking, I put
Charizard's
Charizard.
good.
I put Charizard in A tier while you were talking. But
Charizard's good.
great story. I think viewers love that. That's why they love the Shift Gear podcast because you can get tier list plus Aneil's unhinged bathroom stories at the regional. Love to see
I have
it.
a problem with that bathroom. Never going back.
All right, next up we have Gardevoir. I've actually played a lot of Gardevoir since rotation, or not rotation, the new set. I actually think Gardevoir is really, really good. I think
too.
when we did our Twilight tier list, we really underrated Monkey Dory. Monkey Dory makes this deck really, really good. You don't have to play Luxurious Cape anymore because you can have Drifloon hit for 330 now with a Bravery Charm just because you can move 30 off of it. So then it goes to odd intervals, so you can put 110 on it. Monkey Dory just helps with like setting things up for knockouts, or you can like soften things up first. It lets Gardevoir EX hit for 220, which is really good into a lot of like basic EXs or Vs. Yeah, like just having the ability to one shot is just always good. It got 2 new A specs. I think this deck probably uses the new A specs the best, or not the best, but like it has the most options. You have the reset stamp and the I forget what it's called, but the thing that lets you get
Hyper Aroma.
Hyper Aroma. So you can go like aggressive and just set up 3 Curlies right away to start drawing, or you play reset stamp. I'm not set on a build yet. When I play the reset stamp build, it almost feels like I have like a 30% chance to like win the game on the spot when I play that card. Because you can just Scream Tail something, like counter catch a Scream Tail. Like it's really hard for a lot of decks to like draw out of that. If a deck plays like Bibroll, even Dragapult plays Dracloak, you can take that out. And you can kind of just get things stuck. So That build has felt, or the deck overall has felt really good for me. I personally think it's an A tier deck, but Neil, let's hear what you have to say here.
Yeah, I like it too. The biggest application for me with Monkey Dory has been finding that I don't need to attach a tool to Drifloon to kill a 210 Teal Mask or something.
Yep.
Like, you're able to hit 180 now raw with Drifloon, which is really, really nice. And you can move the 30 over. The other thing I really like about it is you can kind of retreat for free now when you have Monkey Dory out. So if you put up Curlia or Gardevoir, you're healing 30 of that 40 damage back off. So that I really like. I was also pleasantly surprised with how well it uses the new A specs. And through my testing, like I didn't really plan to use Hyper Aroma in any deck at any point, but using it in Gardevoir felt really, really good. Your Arven turns into like a triple level ball basically. So you set up real fast. I think the one issue with the deck still is I don't know how you're really dealing with Dragapult that well. If Dragapult gets big, like it is going to be an issue. The other new tool, Jamming Tower, also gives you a lot of problems, which I really don't like. I think that like Lost Vacuum being the only out to killing Drifloon was really good, and then now you just can drop a Jamming Tower, which scares me. But the Lugia matchup seems okay anyways, so
Yeah,
should be fine.
if you play Enhanced Hammer, I think it's fine. I don't think it's actually that good if you play just Sinnoh. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things going for it. It's been performing early in these tournaments as Gardevoir seems to do now. It seems to just kind of be that dark horse of every format and kind of like New VMAX used to be. So I'm glad it's found its home. I always think Gardevoir's a pretty balanced, like safe, healthy deck to be around. So and I think Monkey Dory is a really like just interesting card. Like you look at it and like for what it's worth, like for face value, you're like, this is a cool gimmick, but it doesn't really feel like it's much more until you play it and you're like, okay, this is actually really, really good. So I personally don't like Monkey Dory as a Pokemon. We've talked about this on this podcast. I don't understand why it exists, but the effect is pretty cool, and for that, I'll give it an A plus.
Monkey Dory.
Mans don't rate Monkey Dory, bro.
All right, next up, Neil, we have a deck from this format, Dialga. Dialga kind of fell off after winning Indy. Like I thought it was gonna do better.
Really
than it
did.
did. So Neil, you are a Dialga enjoyer. So what do you think about Dialga in the new format?
I don't know if I'm a Dialga enjoyer, but I'm definitely not a Dialga disenjoyer. I enjoy the deck. I think it's one of those decks that's really easily counterable. Like you said, like it kind of popped off and then disappeared, and I think that's just the nature of what the deck does and how it operates. So I do think it could be good into Dragapult if Dragapult does blow up. My issue is you need 60 HP Beldum, and without it, you are kind of down bad because your deck is a pile. So that is my first issue with it. I do think the deck is still good. I think it'll still have legs. I would put it in like a maybe generous B tier with the possibility of it booming at any moment, but probably not being too great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't play Dialga, so I can't give a really informed opinion, but B tier sounds about right for it. It's probably like a tier 2-ish deck. Okay, cool. Next up we have, I think I might argue this like could be S tier. We have Lugia. And just like my initial testing with Lugia as the deck feels really, really good. Legacy energy is like meeting my expectations. Taking one less prize, very good. Being able to Iron Hands, very, very good. Being able to Aqua Return, very, very good. And like still having that Chinchino to trade up with the 2 prize decks, very, very good. I mean, like the only thing holding Lugia back from I think being like the best deck is consistency as always. People have been playing Carmine. That's another card we said was horrible. Whenever I play Carmine, like it still feels kind of mid, but I'm like whatever. Like it has helped the deck a little bit. So I personally think like this is either high A or like low S if I had to pick. The deck feels really, really good to me. What about you, Aneil?
Yeah, I think I agree with high A. It does feel really, really good. It's to the point where I've openly stated my distaste with Lugia in the past, and even I'm considering playing this just because it feels like it's got a good balance of like boom and kind of setup. Like it's kind of in between. You feel like, and I don't know, maybe this is like just placebo, but it feels like I have a lot more say in what's going on with the games now than I did maybe in the format prior, and I can't really pinpoint what it is, but it feels like Carmine gives you a lot of control in the sense of like sometimes you just start Carmine 5 dead cards, you're not really waiting that extra turn to really set up, so it feels like your deck kind of flows a little bit better being able to go first and get a new hand as well. So the deck does feel really good. I think it has good matchups all around, and that's the other thing. It feels like the old versatile Lugia that once was, where you can kind of fill your board with 1 prizers or fill it with 2 prizers, and I do think that Water Ogerpon adds a lot to it. Gives me flashbacks of Amazing Rare Raikou, so I really like it. I think it's I actually think it's gonna be high A tier. It might be S tier. We might look back on this in a couple weeks and be like, we were stupid.
So yeah, I think A tier's high A is fine because of consistency, but I wouldn't say it feels like old Lugia. Like that It's missing a
I think it
Aurora.
feels like it does.
It's missing Aurora
Not like that
Energy.
crazy.
It's missing Incense. It's missing Quick Ball. The old Lugia was so
If it was old
consistent.
Lugia, it would be S tier, of
Yeah.
course, right? But like, I mean, like the way the deck kind of plays feels like it, like because you have
Yeah, because
Legacy Energy,
you have a one
you have
rainbow now.
Immersion
Yeah.
Raku, yeah,
Um,
you can do things now.
I honestly don't even play the Ogerpon. I don't really like it that much. I mean, you're trading 2 for 2, so it's like, okay, it's fine. Like if people know you play it, they can just bench Manaphy. I guess you grief a bench spot from them.
That's what I mean, and I don't think people really know you play it that often, right? Like, you're not assuming that
Yeah,
Lugia really plays Ogerpon, and you can recycle your Legacy Energy. Like, I like it.
yeah, it's like okay, but I'm like, I feel like against decks you can use it. They're like evolving decks, right? So like if they know you do it, like they can put Manaphy down, and if I'm attacking with Ogerpon turn 2, like I feel like I can also just attack with hands turn 2 against these setup decks, which I feel like is just as good, if not better. Since
Yeah,
like
of course.
hands has to be answered right away. So I'll test more with it, but for now I'm not playing Ogerpon.
Well, the reason why I like it is because it gives you an alternative route to taking 2 prizes as well. Like, you have the
Yeah.
route of, like, okay, Chinchino blow up a 2 prizer, hands take 2 prizes, Ogerpon take 2 prizes. I just think that it helps kind of swing it back into your favor in, like, weird times. I'm not saying it's going to be effective every game, but I do think, like, if you find it effective in 30-40% of games, and that to me is enough to warrant putting it in, like, a toolboxy deck. So, I don't know. It doesn't feel like the worst starter either. Like, if you start it, you're not crying. So,
I mean, it has
seems fine.
210 against a lot of decks that can punish it. So,
Better than hands, bro. I'm not trying to move that big-ass boy out of the active.
well, you play Jet Energy in Lugia.
Yeah, but they play Sinnoh. Yeah, I don't
Most
like it.
decks don't play Sinnoh. I think it's fine.
I don't like it.
Sure. Anyways, next up, we're moving to the greatest deck of all time, Chien-Pao, Excalibur.
Here we go. All right.
Oh,
Blaze session inbound.
people are like, oh, it's Dragapult matchup's really bad. I mean, if Dragapult matchup is like fine, it's 50-50. It's like if you go first, like you're gonna roll them. I think if you go second and they get a turn to attack, like they're probably gonna roll you. The one thing too though is like if they go for a turn to attack going first, like normally they can't stabilize their board super hard. Like you are one of the few decks that can like knock out a Dragapult turn 2 pretty easily. So you put a lot of pressure on them to like keep it going. So and then like I also think like Chien-Pao, like it's good into Lugia still. The Legacy Energy is annoying because like you can't trade up if they hands you turn 2 going first. But like we said, Lugia is not that consistent. I don't know. You play Iridium, maybe you play one enhanced hammer. No, definitely not. Don't do that. I think the one thing I will say is bad for Chien-Pao is like Charizard's going to go down from like 20% meta share to probably like 10, and like that's one of the deck's best matchups. And then we'll get to them, but like Snorlax is like well positioned as well, I think, which is like the deck's worst matchup. So I still think Chien-Pao's fine, but it's losing its best matchup having like a high meta share, like and getting like another 50-50 matchup. So I'm probably going to put it in high B.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it returns to like kind of like that weird era where it's kind of in that white zone where you don't really know if it's good or if it's bad, but it can pop out at any time and do well, right? Like you just need the right player and the right matchup spread and Tom to kind of give you a little bit of a boost here and there. So I do think it's fine. I think the idea that it's dead is overstated for
100%.
sure. 100%. Because you do have options. Like, you don't need to play 60 HP Bidoof. You don't need to play 60 HP Frigibacks. Of course, it sucks if you start, like, a 2-retreat Fridge. But, I mean, we make it work.
Yeah, I'm still playing 260 HP Bidoofs. Like, I don't really care. I'm like,
Yeah, who cares, dude?
like my strat is literally like if I'm trying to go first. So if I'm trying to go first, like that guy's getting evolved, and then like I do play now. I put the 170 HP in. I hate that guy, but he's in my deck.
Well, I do think it is also, like, coming to light how slow Dragapult is. So, I mean, you're probably not getting picked off as long as you get that thing evolved ASAP, like you said.
Yeah. Because like when you go first, you can just evolve a 60 HP and leave a 70 HP guy to protect yourself from Devo. But yeah, I don't know. I love Chien-Pao as always. If it's still viable, I might play it, but I don't think it's as good as it is in this format.
Correct.
Cool. All right, next up we have Snorlax Stall. I think this is A tier. Like it's annoying. It's A tier this format, I think too. It gains that new flute card. So now they have Ericas, they have Mantine, and they have this flute. So your Pokemon are really not safe no matter where they are.
Yeah.
And like honestly, like a lot of matchups, like they just need that flute to hit once, and like the game is pretty much like over. So I don't know. I think Snorlax is pretty good. I hate playing against Snorlax. The only thing I think that might keep Snorlax down is like if Lugia gets really popular. I mean, Snorlax can play a bunch of Sinnohs, but I don't know if that's enough to really flip the matchup for them. So
Yeah, I've played that matchup quite a bit actually. One of the students I coach likes to play Snorlax, and they want to test against Lugia, and it does feel like the Sinnoh helps a bit more than I thought it would. I didn't think it mattered too much, but like Lugia is typically only playing 2 jamming towers at most, so it does stick a little bit longer than I thought it would, and I think the matchup is definitely winnable. It's not super duper unfavored. The thing with Snorlax is I think that flute really pushes it over the edge. Like if you said high A onto S in a couple weeks, I'd believe you because I do think this deck is unbelievable. It's got all the tools it needs to succeed now. Maybe this is me speaking from a place of personal victimization of what I just went through in the last weekend, but like it does feel like even the decks that are favored into it are one Erica or one Flute away from not being so favored anymore. And I do think that Snorlax will maybe eclipse Pidgeot a little bit here, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the Flute really does help, and
Yeah.
having Flute, Misfortune, Mantine, like you have so many ways of milling switches and getting Pokemon out, and just being generally annoying that I think a lot of people are just gonna tilt and rage quit immediately. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think the one thing too against Lugia that's actually like makes the matchup worse now is like even if Lumineon hits the board, like if they play Jamming Tower, they can just Legacy
Yeah.
Energy and shuffle it back now.
hmm
So, yeah, but I agree, it's really good. Like honestly, like I would not take a bad matchup to like Snorlax slash Control in general if you're trying to like win the tournament.
Yeah.
So next up, we have Pidgeot Control. I think it's also A tier. I mean, like Lucas thing, start with the Zingod repping Toronto, taking LA regionals after Drake took an L. So we have the Zingod taking one back for Toronto. So yeah, I think like that style of deck, I think is still really good. It's like especially in the hands of a strong player like Lucas. I think Isaiah Bradner played the deck as well, and I think Azul's group actually played the deck too. So
Yep.
yeah, so I think the deck is still really good. The thing with Control is like you can kind of tinker with it to like what you expect the metagame to be. So yeah, I expect the strong Control players to play some version of Pidgeot Control. Like if Sanders coming to NAIC, I assume he'll play some version of Pidgeot Control. Yeah, I don't think anything really changes for it. There's just new decks in the meta. It might be bad against the Ogerpon deck. I'm not sure if it is or not because they can one-shot everything. But
No, I'm pretty sure it's good. It's good into it.
okay, yeah, I guess you can play a bunch of Mimikyus or something. So yeah, it's probably fine.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. It's just Control. Control's always good in this format.
Feels
so,
good, yeah. Like I don't see anything really changing it from then to now, to be honest. Like there's not a whole lot that came out or didn't come out that is hindering it or helping it. I just think, like you said, like it's really good in the hands of a strong player. If you have a plan, you have a way to go. The Lost City is basically non-existent at this point, so you don't have to worry too much about that either. The only thing I'm looking for as a maybe potential counter is Jamming Tower. I think Jamming Tower definitely doesn't help Pidgeot in any way, so that may show its face a little bit, but I don't think there's anything else that really came out that really changes anything. So, to me, Pidgeot Control still stays in A. I think some people are going to crack it, and people honestly like as much as I do generally dislike Control and Stall variants, I am very impressed with how people have like kind of crafted this.
yeah,
And like you look at like Bradner and Lucas's list from this weekend, and you just look at it, you're like, this looks so eerily complicated and has answers to just about everything in terms of like stalling things or attacking things or whatever. Like it's got so many dimensions to it, and like there's all these one of cards kind of going around in this deck, and it's really impressive from the outside to kind of see it emerge and see how well it's been doing. So the one thing that I think definitely didn't help it this weekend was, and it didn't need the help, it still did really well, but there was a severe absence of Zard, and
at the top
that was
tables,
really interesting to
yeah.
me. I don't know. I didn't see a single one throughout the 2 days.
Well,
Like I didn't even
it
look
still
at one.
had like 20% meta share, but like yeah, I don't think they did well at all at the top tables.
Yeah.
Like
There was one I played throughout the 2 days, and it was like a control Zard. I didn't see anything.
yeah, it seemed like Control Zard was the way to go. I'm just pulling up the thing on my phone here.
Yeah.
But like yeah, well, I think just a lot of good players didn't play it either this weekend, right? It seems a lot of good players have gone to like beating Zard instead. Like yeah, I'm looking here. So we're at LA. I don't see a Charizard in the top 16. So what do you? There's 3 of them once
Yeah,
you get to the back half of the top 32. So, I mean, it's the most played deck. And at the start of the format, we were like, this deck is like by far the best. But like now, I think we've gotten to the point where like I don't even know what Charizard's good matchups are anymore, to be honest.
Yeah. And even then, on the surface, like what you're looking at with those icons there, it doesn't tell you if it's control Zard or regular Zard. So those could all 3 be control Zards too,
Yeah.
which is
No,
pretty crazy.
they're normal Zards. Like Control, they just put Pidgeot, even if it's Control Zard.
Oh, do they? They never used to do that.
Well, I'm looking here. Lucas just has Pidgeot as his deck, so
Okay. Well, you only played 101 Zard though, right?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's Control Zard, isn't it?
No, there's a few of them that play like 202 or 303 or 313 whatever, but have control aspects to them. Like it doesn't matter. Like this is kind of redundant,
Yeah,
but the idea is that like there's so many different ways you can kind of craft this thing that like I think the more adapted ones to the meta did well this weekend. Like
yeah,
less of the like more vanilla ones went off. So
yeah,
that was surprising to me. I did think it was going to drop off. I think we all knew it was going to drop off, and that was kind of what went into my deck choice as well. Like I only played one Iron Leaves. I didn't really have any answers to Zard. I didn't really feel like it was relevant, but I didn't think it was going to drop off like this. So
yeah.
that was surprising to me.
No, 100%. Yeah. So cool. Pidgeot A tier. All right, next you can talk about this one first. We have Ancient Box.
Ancient Box. Okay. Yeah. I do think Ancient Box is actually really good into Raging Bolt, which is
Yeah.
hilarious. So I think Ancient Box might peek its head out a little bit. I think it's like it's emerged as one of those decks that people like to gravitate when they don't have any other options. Like I've seen a lot of people being like, I have no idea what to do. I'm gonna just try Ancient Box. So we'll see what it looks like for NAIC. I don't anticipate anything too crazy in terms of Ancient Box, but it has a good matchup into what is perceived the BDIF right now. So I would keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, I think the one thing I think is really good for Ancient Box is like right now its worst matchup by far is Charizard, and like as we say, we're expecting that to come down a bit. So your worst matchup's going down, which is good. And it's just like I don't know, the deck could be a little inconsistent sometimes and like struggle with Iono and stuff. So, but I still think it's really good. I think it's like a high B tier type of deck, similar to what it is in this format.
Yep,
But
I agree with you.
yeah,
Throw it in there.
I'll put it above Chien-Pao. I think it's probably slightly better. Cool. All right, next up we have the Lost Zone decks. So we have Lost Box, Tina, and Lost Zard. I think they're all still good. My one maybe concern would be is like Dragapult can kind of like spread stuff, but I mean you can play like the Roaring Moon build I guess, but then they can clean it up with the spread. Lugia gets Iron Hands, so like if there's more Iron Hands, if Miraidon starts seeing play, then like there's more of that. So I still think it's a good deck. You can like adapt it, but I don't know if I would say it's better than it currently is.
Yeah, Lost Box was like really, really slept on this format. There's a lot of like, if you look at Limitless, it has like the highest win rate out of almost any
Yeah,
deck because it was just one of those things where only a certain niche of players were picking it up, but they were doing extraordinarily well with it. And I think the ability of Lost Box as a deck to kind of adapt to what the meta was, I think was its best asset. So there was a lot of Lost Zard at the beginning, then it kind of turned into Lost Zone with Moon, Hoopa, Iron Hands. Like the deck is so versatile that it always finds a way to compete. And as a counterpoint to Dragapult as well, like you do have Switch Card. Like you have ways of healing this stuff off, and a good Lost Zone player is going to save their Switch Cards and just use it to erase those damage counters put down. So I always will never count out Lost Zone Box.
yeah.
I think it's always relevant. Tina the same. I do think Tina's going to rear its head out, and we'll talk about that in a second. Is Tina a separate one, or are we talking
It's a
about all
separate. Yeah, these are all
right now?
separate. So yeah, I
Okay.
think like Lost Box, like it has a really strong player base too. People always playing with it. And like they always iterate, like they find the right text for the meta. So I don't know. I think it's still like low A tier to me. It's pretty
Yep.
good. But then, yeah, we can move on to Tina, Neil. I mean, Tina to me is like always. I feel like it's kind of tier two in this format, and like I feel like it's one of its best matchups is Charizard, which again is going down in meta share. A lot of these decks we're talking about were like, oh, Charizard's going down. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Tina's probably like a high B tier. I think Lost Box is better. It's faster, more aggressive, which I like. So I just think yeah, Tina's a little slow, and its best matchup is like going to be a little bit on the decline. So that's how I feel about it.
I'm not sure if I really can put one over the other right now. I think it's a little early. I do think, and this might age really badly, but I do think Tina is in a spot to go on a run at NAIC because nobody expects it, nobody cares about it, nobody even thinks about it. I think it's in one of those like dark horse spots, and we'll revisit this in a week and a half and talk about it. But it does to me feel like it might be a play for NIC right now. It deals with a lot of numbers very well. It doesn't damage cap. It can trade into one prizers. Like Raging Bolt is going to struggle with it a little bit. I can at least answer that. And it also has Sableye, which can gatekeep a lot of things.
Is
So
Raging Bolt going to struggle with it? Because Raging Bolt can just one shot Tina's pretty easily.
I think it one shot you back though. So
Yeah,
like
but
it's
that's a lot more for Tina to do. Plus, you're faster as the Raging Bolt.
yeah, but you can also like kind of skew your board, right? Like, you can go Cramorant into Sableye or Cramorant into Cramorant. Like, you don't always have to go two prize, and I understand what you're saying. Like it's
Yeah,
easier for them to one shot than it is for you. But even cards like I saw a bunch of team lists with some like random ass cards, and I'm like, there are new cards that are coming out that are gonna help this deck a little bit. And I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying I would not be surprised to see it go on a run. So
That's fair.
that is my hot take of the week.
I'm sticking it in B tier though.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
That's where it belongs.
Cool. All right. Next, last one we have Lost Zard, like Radiant Charizard. I'll be honest, like I never really play this deck, so I can't really give a good opinion on this one. It just feels like Greninja is just more consistent and lets you do what you're trying to do better. I will say though, Radiant Charizard is kind of well positioned if this Ogerpon deck, which we're gonna get to, does become one of the most popular decks. Like Radiant Charizard does really really well against that. So I could see it being like kind of like a solid tier 2 deck, but it is a little bit clunkier than the normal Lost Box. So to me, that's what holds it back a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. It's actually interesting the way people look at it. It on paper does feel a little bit clunkier, and you do miss Greninja a lot. I will say though, I played it quite a bit. Sometimes it feels silkier because you're playing more vacuums, you're playing more gears, you have more outs to Colress, you're getting quicker to 7 to 10 in the Lost Zone, whatever it is. It does feel at times that it's just fine, and I think there are pros and cons to playing this over regular Lost Zone box. I know the new Zards play Iron Hands to kind of keep up in the prize trade in that sense, so you have that, and I agree with you, man. If Raging Bolt is real, which I think it is, this deck can really peek its head out. And the one thing that was really gatekeeping it at first was Zard. Like, what do you do about Zard, right? And with Zard coming down, Dragapult going up a little bit, but in theory, you boast a pretty decent matchup spread now.
Yep.
Greninja might give you some problems if Greninja's real. Blissey might give you some problems, but like whatever, right? Like you deal with that, and you're also pretty decent in a stall, so
Yeah.
seems all right.
Yeah, I'll put it like B tier. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, B tier is good.
Okay, cool. Now we have some new decks. We're going to start with Dragapult, like the big deck of the set. So we have Lost Dragapult, Pidgeot, and we have Xatu. Let's start with actually the Pidgeot version, since I think that's the one that's been more popular lately. So Neil, what do you think about Dragapult Pidgeot?
So through my testing, it feels a little slow, and I think that's a very normal opinion now across the community. It does feel a little slow. It feels like you're taking a couple extra turns to do things. And once we get into the Lost Box version, I'll tell you why I love that version, why I think that was the superior one. But Pidgeot, Dragapult feels good late game. It does feel like you lose by a turn or two a lot of the time, and that turn or two is you setting up. So you're also a little bit more fragile in the sense that you're pretty susceptible to just Iono kill Pidgeot. So that doesn't feel great either.
Yeah, I think like once it gets going, it feels like the best build, just because like obviously Pidgeot's broken. You get any cards you want every turn.
Yeah.
It just feels a little difficult turn 2 to get everything I need. Like I need Rare Candy Pidgeot, I need Rare Candy Dragapult, and I need the upper energy. Or I need to have like gone first and attached like just the basic to one of my GPs. So the deck just hasn't felt as good as I thought it was gonna feel. Maybe I need to go to Towards Masterclass to have my opinion changed. But
Touchy topic.
yeah. Why is it a touchy topic?
Because it's sold out, and like everyone's like masterclass,
Bro,
what's going on?
You can buy. I think he said you can buy the VOD still. So.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
I'm saved.
So.
I will not be buying the VOD, but shout out to Tord.
Okay, yeah, get the bag, Tord. I'm actually.
Let King get his bag, bro.
I'm happy for him, bro. He deserves to get the bag, bro.
Yeah.
He's our best player.
No hate,
so,
bro.
Yeah, shout out Tord. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is like, for me right now, it feels like a B tier deck, but like I feel like someone's gonna like make a really good list and it'll become like an A tier deck.
Yeah, it needs a mix of like, I think it's like an early game attacker away from being a very relevant deck. The problem is, what do you do in that early game? And I think that segues really well into our next one, Lost Zone. Lost Zone Palt has been, I think it's a B tier, by the way. Sorry, I didn't add that
Yeah,
in.
it's fine.
But,
I put it there.
yeah, that's a B tier. Lost Zone Palt feels like it has crossed off all the check boxes of what Palt Pidgeot has not done. I've tested this a fair amount now since I got home from LA. Had a few hours to myself today, so I was able to test it. It feels real good, dude, because early game you're not sitting there doing nothing. You're at least spitting, you're doing something, and your late game also is not bad because you're part of the comfy engine, and you have Sableye to clean up any random 6 damage counters you haven't done previously, so it has felt the best. Direct Cloak is basically like a poor man's comfy as well, so you're kind of building up in that sense. I would not be surprised to see this deck do well at NAIC. It also feels quite good into Raging Bolt, as you can kind of control your board there.
True. So I've only played the Xatu and Pidgeot versions. I haven't played the Dragapult version. I did see one of our...
Give it a shot, dude.
Yeah, so one of the listeners of our podcast, Vinny, he had like a Twitter thread about it. He's been playing a lot, so... where would you put the Lost Dragapult? Is it B or is it A for you?
I think it's low A for me.
Low A. All right, I will trust
Just
you.
because of pop-off potential. I just think it can go crazy. Like, it could just go nuts.
Nice. All right, cool. All right, the last Dragapult build we have is the Xatu version. I think initially this is the one that everyone thought was the best. Played a lot. It's kind of fallen off a little bit for like the Pidgeot one seems more popular now. I still think this build is fine. You could even play like Xatu with Pidgeot, kind of like how like Tord played the Bibarel with the Pidgeot and Charizard. The thing I like about Xatu is like I hate when I play the Pidgeot version that my A-Spec has to be the upper energy. Like A-Specs are so good, and like playing that feels kind of bad.
Yeah.
I really, really, really like Scoop Up Cyclone. Like I think Scoop Up Cyclone feels so good, and this version gets to play Scoop Up Cyclone, which I really like. So I've enjoyed this version more than I've enjoyed the Pidgeot version. I have tried a version that plays like Pidgeot and Xatu. That one feels actually kind of good to me too. So I just prefer playing it like this just because I'm such a fan of playing the Scoop Up Cyclone. Like so many matchups, like Mirror Match especially, Charizard, Gardevoir, whatever. Like Dragapult has a lot of health. Like there's not a lot of decks that are one-shotting it. So just having that ability to play that A-Spec. You can even play more like, it's easier to use Turo just because you have Xatu to reset the energy. You can play TM Evo with this build too. So I've liked this version the best of the Dragapults I've tried. I'm still not, like, it didn't feel like S tier to me or anything, but it definitely felt like an A tier deck to me.
Yeah, and like, I mean, you also gain a little bit of points in the stall as well, which is really nice. Yeah, as long as they don't snipe it out of your hand. I do like Scuba Cyclone. I just haven't really found, to be honest, I haven't found an application for it that felt better than any other A-Spec. Like you said, like the, what's that word you love to use? Is it cost effect? No, there's another
The
word.
opportunity
There's a word you
cost.
love. Opportunity cost. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The opportunity cost is very high, I think, with Scoop Up Cyclone, because like there is a lot of better cards you can kind of choose there. So,
What, you saying like
um,
there's better cards than Scoop Up Cyclone?
yeah, I feel like there's better A specs that you would rather be using.
Like
At
what?
least I feel that way.
I feel like that's like
Like
I think Neo
there's
Upper Energy is the one where I feel like I'd rather use like literally every other A spec, but like I have to play it.
oh both. I think it's
I don't
both.
know. Scoop Up
Like
Cyclone feels so good, bro. Like it's almost like with the way the deck plays, it's almost like a max potion. Let's
yeah,
just
it's synergistic for sure. I just think of all the times where I've had it or whatever. Like I'll be honest, I haven't tested a whole lot with this. I've tested maybe like two games of this, but in my mind, like I think there's a lot of times where I'd maybe want Prime Catcher or I'd maybe want whatever, Upper Energy or Max Belt or whatever. Like it just feels like there are a lot of options out there, and we've gotten to the point where we've eclipsed the amount of A specs we've had in existence by like three at this point,
yep.
compared to like in the black and white era. Like there's way more options now than there used to be. So it makes like signaling, like really like narrowing down on one really really difficult. So
Yeah.
I do think there's merit to it. It just kind of feels bad sometimes
I don't
in
know,
my
bro.
mind.
When I get hit by like a Gardevoir or like another Dragapult and I go Scoop Up Cyclone, it feels pretty good to me. So
I'm not in a position to talk about it. Like I haven't tested it, and I'll be completely honest about that. So I trust your testing. I just
okay,
think in my mind, like I don't know. I don't
okay,
know. We'll see.
yeah, fair enough. All right, I'm putting that one like low A with your Lost Dragapult as well.
Sure.
Okay, I think next up we're going to talk about this deck has probably been like the most hyped deck the past week. It's been like crushing online tournaments. It's the Raging Bolt deck with the Ogerpon. I think this deck was like slept on by like the Japanese. Like I haven't seen it at all in their results. So it's just the West has been innovating this deck a lot. I actually think like this deck has the chance to be the number one most played deck at NAIC. Like it's kind of similar to like Roaring Moon in our like Paldean Evolved format. It's similar to Miraidon before that. It's like a fast, simple deck that hits hard. So lots of players like to gravitate towards it. I think this deck is super strong in like juniors, for example. It's super simple to play, super fast. It's hard. But I guess we're talking about masters. But yeah, I think the deck is solid. I'm not 100% sure it's A tier because it does struggle with like single prizers that can knock it out. So Radzard is the main card that makes it difficult. And we didn't talk about that with Dragapult. Like I've actually started playing Radzard in some of my Dragapult decks because I just think it's super sick. Similar to how you play like Radzard and Charizard. So the thing with the deck I like is it's super consistent. It has so much deck space. Like you can play Trekking Shoes, you can play like Ultra Ball, you can play Nest Ball if you want. You can play Pokestop, you can play 4 Gears. And it's pretty good into like the big 2-prize decks like Dragapult because you just blow them up. So I don't know if you've played the deck yet, Aneil, but do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Yeoman Yu, the dog. Okay. And the reason why I'm giving a shout out is because he's had this built for probably a month. Before everything even came out, he just found like some like jank list somewhere and he was building it. And when I was testing for LA, he was playing against me a lot. Like I would go into the store, whatever we'd play, and he was whooping my ass. And I was like, am I just like terrible? Like, what's going on here? Like, why am I getting destroyed by this? Anyways, weeks go on, continuously getting my ass whooped by anybody who picked up that deck. And now it's emerged as this like front runner tier 1. I just want to give a shout out to that guy because he was the godfather. Okay, he originated this. The deck is very, very strong. Like you said, it does struggle a little bit into one prizers. It struggles into Radzard. But you have a lot of things going for you. You have Bravery Charms. You have different kinds of attackers. You play 3 different energies. So you do have a little bit of leeway in terms of like who you're attacking with. I'm sure someone will break it, find a good single prize attack or whatever. But the one thing I will say about it is I think it peaked too early. And I've said this to some people in my group as well, who are very high on it. It just feels like it peaked a week too early. It's going to be public enemy number 1 now in NAIC. Any like sort of shroud of mystery that it had is now gone. It does feel like people are going to be definitely attacking for this, and there's a lot of ways you can attack for this, unfortunately. The biggest thing I found is the draw engine's not too strong. So, like late game Iono, late game Roxanne is quite strong into it. It's not doing a whole lot in terms of draw, but you can simply counter it by playing Radzard or playing Jamming Tower or like anything like that. So, I do think it is very strong. I think you're right. I think it might be the most played deck in the room, especially with Dragapult's demise, but I think it's opening the door for Dragapult to make a comeback, or it's just kind of taking the spotlight off. And I've said this so many times in this podcast going into ICs is like, my motto is always beat the best deck. Just beat the best deck. And if everybody's attacking for Raging Bolt, Ogerpon, it leaves a lot of space for other decks to kind of do well there.
Yeah, I mean, it might keep Dragapult down, actually, I think. So I think Dragapult's bad into this deck. I don't know, I've also found, like, it's not that bad late game. Like, you can, like, you thin your deck really well. Like, you can play Palpad, like Trekking Shoes, you can play Pokestop. If you draw energies, like, the Ogerpon draws cards. I agree with your point, though. It's like, I feel like if this deck was, like, a surprise deck for NAIC, or, like, it hadn't been doing so well at the online tournaments, people would be less aware, like, less likely to attack against it. But now, like, the cat's kind of out of the bag, so... I don't know. Is this A tier or is this B tier? What do you think?
I think this is definitely A tier.
Yeah, I think it's A
I was going to argue for high A tier. Like,
yeah, I think it's A tier.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's really good.
But yeah, no, I think, well, my point to the whole Dragapult thing is like, if attention is onto this, Dragapult just has to beat the counter to the counter, right? Like, that's just kind of the way I look at it. Like, it's just a triangle.
Yeah.
So whatever the counter ends up being, and like I guess we don't really know it yet, but whatever that counter ends up being, if Dragapult beats that, it's a lot of attention off of Dragapult, man. A lot of attention. And like with ICs, you know how it is. There's 3,000 people in this room, and a lot of them paid a lot of money to be there. And the rationale a lot of the time, and I've thought deep and hard about this. And in general, like my biggest successes have always been at ICs because I just think about like what is the mentality of a player coming to this? You spend $1,500 to play in this tournament. A lot of people, it's their only tournament of the year or whatever. Like there were years where you and I shouldn't say you and I because you were kind of more involved in the game growing up, but there's years where I only showed up for nationals, and that was like my one term of the year. And a lot of people do tend to do that. When you're going into a big tournament like that, you're like, what is the safest thing I can play? I paid all this money to be here. What's the safest thing I can play? I don't really know the game. Someone just hand me the best deck. Okay, I'll just play the best deck. So that's the mentality of a lot more people at ICs than it is at regionals. So you have 3,000 people in this room. You have a very beginner-friendly, cost-effective deck. I shouldn't even say cost-effective anymore because like Ogerpon's like $15. But anyways, you have all these things going for you. You are going to see a high play rate of Raging Bolt Ogerpon, I think. If it stays this hype over the next week, everyone beware.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my philosophy normally when you go to like unknown metas is just play the best deck because people won't optimize the other decks in the list. Like I say this as someone who's like made cut like twice at an IC. Both times I literally just played the best deck in the format, like at the start of the format. Yeah. And then I just beat people who like weren't playing like optimal stuff.
But surely this is an exception to that.
What do you mean?
Like, this is considered right now the best deck.
Oh,
right?
I don't think
like,
it's considered the best deck. I just think it's like the most popular. Like,
you don't think so?
I think like, I don't know. I think like for example, like the two ICs I'm talking like Silver Tempest, like Lugia was for sure the best deck. I played that one.
S tier.
Paldea evolved. Like Gardevoir was the like it wasn't 100% going to the tournament, but like it became clear during the tournament it was the best deck. So I played that deck. This tournament, like, there's not a clear best deck, to be honest. Like, honestly, looking now, we've put, like, 9 decks in A tier. We haven't put anything in S tier either.
I know.
So it's, like, it's not really 100% clear that there is a best deck that you can just play.
Yeah, my like, rationale towards that whole thing, though, is, like, right now, I feel like I can't name a deck that is more hyped and more, like, happily looked upon than this deck. And, like, that combined with, like, the beginner factor and like the casual factor, I do think overall that if it retains this level of hype, it's going to be considered the best deck.
Yeah,
And if it's considered the best deck, I don't think you're going to be playing it.
yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna play a deck that has a bad matchup.
Yeah,
in
you're
this
not.
at NAIC. I'm actually like, I feel like I'm gonna hit this like at least once or twice. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see the play rate. Like, give me a guess right now for what percent of the meta you think this deck's gonna be.
I don't think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be 12%.
That was
but I
actually
think it's
gonna
gonna
be
be
my
very
guess, too.
well balanced.
Yeah.
It's gonna be very well balanced.
Sweet. What percent do you think Dragapult's gonna be?
8, 7.
Yeah, I was gonna say 10 maybe, but maybe it could be or 7. Then I
don't know.
I think Lugia will be around 10. I think Charizard will be maybe like.
So
8 or
here's the thing
9.
too, like with modern age, like when people break things, you know very fast. I haven't seen anybody break Dragapult yet.
Yeah.
And without like that liquid confidence of seeing it on limitless pages and stuff like that, like I don't think very many people are going to be like attracted to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those decks where I feel like a good player, like someone like Tord or like a Zool's group or something, will like find the right build and like power through. But I don't think like the masses will do well with like Dragapult.
Exactly.
That's kind of the vibe I have.
And like us saying it's going to be 8% doesn't mean we don't think it's going to go. Like it can go off at any point, right? Sometimes like the decks with the lowest percentages do the best. And take LA regionals for example. Pidgeot Control was not up there.
Yeah, it did really well.
Clean up the tournament.
Yeah,
All about the quality player.
100%. Okay, next on Aneil we have Quad Iron Thorns EX. So this is like a stall type of deck. Iron Thorns' ability just shuts off other rule box Pokemon. I don't know. It doesn't seem that good to me. Like I feel like Snorlax is better if you want to play or Pidgeot if you want to play a control deck. I feel like there's a lot of decks that can just like attack this because you're not really this version like doesn't really attack. So it's like if a deck can just set up their attackers, like they'll slowly win. I feel like. I'll be honest. I haven't played this deck, but so you tell me.
The ones I was looking at were energy build. They had energies, like they were attacking.
So okay, so were they playing generators?
I think it was 6 lightning, 4 DTs, no generators, something
okay.
like that. But like in my mind, when I think about it, like this seems quite good.
I don't know. I don't think this seems
good
good to me, bro.
I don't know. Like by good, I'm speaking in relative terms. Like I don't think it's A tier, or probably not even B tier. But I think compared to what we think it is, I think it's quite good because you think of a deck like Gardevoir. Like, what are you doing, man? You can't ever move this card, right? Like it's always gonna be there. They only play 4 Iron Thorns. You're never getting your ability. The only chance you have is to manually attach to a Gardevoir and say Miracle Force. They play 4 Crushing Hammers, 3 Aries. Like this isn't an easy feat.
I mean, I feel like you can just do that though, like manually attach to the Gardevoirs and get them ready, and like they'll outtrade the Thorns.
Yeah, I guess.
Because like the
but
Thorns doesn't have energy acceleration.
No, and it hits I believe 140 or 160.
Yeah, but you're playing the DTE, so it goes down too, right?
Yeah, so you're effectively 3-shotting a Gardevoir. You're basically saying if your hammers flip tails, Gardevoir wins. If your hammers flip heads, Thorns probably wins.
Yeah, it does 140.
But 140? Yeah, so doing 120, yeah, that's garbage. Especially if Monkey Dory exists, because they can also heal and make this really, really awkward.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think it's not B tier, not A tier, but I do think it has a place somewhere.
Right.
Someone's gonna play this.
I'll put it in C tier.
Yeah, it's C tier.
Okay, next up we have Greninja EX, like the fighting one. I've actually played this, but I played it with Frostlash. It didn't feel very good. The problem I had with the deck was like, okay, you can search for a card, but like I feel like you need like a lot of cards every turn. If you play with Frostlash, you can't really play something like Bibarel because, well then like your Bibarel's gonna die. You can't really play Monkey Dory because you need to attach every turn, especially if you want to use like the Shuriken attack. People still play Manaphy. I don't know. It just doesn't seem good to me. But I don't know if you've played this deck.
Yeah, I have. I'm a little disappointed by it. Like, I was hoping it'd be good. It's a cool Pokemon, cool effect that we all like these kinds of decks. It just feels like, and like the one gripe I have with it is I feel like it could have been worded better to negate the effect of DTE on the attack. I think that's a big loss for it. It doesn't feel like much, like 20 damage, whatever. But sniping 100 is very different from sniping 120, 120. So like that alone is enough to kind of push me off. I wish it was good. I'd love to play this. Like you think even like something common like a rating Greninja, right? Like with Frostlass, it's a one shot if you're hitting 120, 120. But instead you're like running around with these awkward numbers. And I agree with you. I think the 170 attack could be good. I think if it said search deck for 2 cards, we're having a totally different conversation. But just as it says one card, and like, I mean, what are you really getting there that really helps you?
Yeah.
So I'm a little disappointed by it. It's probably a C tier for me, but I do hope I'm proven wrong at some point.
Yeah, I might even put a D tier, but I'll put it C tier. I think
Sure, D tier if you want.
when we did our set review, like I'm like I don't think this card's good. I still feel like that, but like someone could. I feel like it's a card that hasn't been experimented with a lot, so like maybe someone will find a good build for it.
I do agree.
Okay, next up. Oh, I just realized I forgot to put Miraidon on this, so I'll put that back. But next up, what we talked about, we have Future Hands. So we just talked about Iron Thorns. I think Future Hands just gains Iron Thorns. That's probably the biggest addition to the deck. So Neil, what do you think about Future Hands in this format?
I think Future Hands might be one of the greatest applicators for the new Ursaluna. That bigger, it's Ursaluna, right? The bigger Ursaring thing.
Yeah, it's like Radiant Charizard,
Okay.
it's colorless.
Yeah. I just forgot what the Pokemon name was. So I actually think it could be a really good application there. I think it gains that. I don't think it gains much, but I think it gains a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Like it gains a little bit of like stealthiness. Like no one's really thinking about it. No one's really accounting for it. I feel like a lot in the digital age has to do with, of Pokemon at least, has to do with how much people are expecting a deck, and like the formats as of recent years are so like, I don't want to say triangle-y meta, but like they're like hexagonal metas where there's like 6 or 7 decks and things really rotate in and out a lot more than they used to in terms of like what counters what and stuff. But it does feel like hands in the right meta could be quite strong. I'm not sure if it's A tier. I'm not sure if it's even B tier, but I do think it has the potential. And I know I've said that a lot on this list, but this has been one of the more open metagames we've seen. Like it just, as you said, there's no consistent S tier. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of like the card pool is massive right now. There's so many different things out there that you can use to your advantage, and I think there's so many different kinds of decks. Like there's decks that one shot, decks that two shot, decks that tickle, decks that do nothing and sit there and say Erica's. Like you have such a wide diversity of like things going on right now that I do think hands in the right meta can find its spot. So for me, it's a B tier sleeper pick for me. I do think Ursaluna helps a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's bad against the Ogerpon deck. Like that deck just like farms you, I think.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's good into Dragapult. Dragapult has too much health, I feel like. It's kind of similar to playing as Charizard in this format. But I guess
I mean,
they don't
just
one-shot
kill 2
you.
Dragapults.
Yeah. I don't know. It's also like susceptible to Iono and Roxanne. But I mean, like Lugia is popular, which is a good matchup. So it's probably like
You don't take a good matchup into Stall either, which sucks.
No, it does suck. It's probably low B, high C to me.
Yeah.
So my tier listing got messed up when I tried to add the deck.
Nice. Did it all reset?
No, they stayed, but it doesn't. It's reset like at the bottom, but it's fine. I'll fix it after. Okay, cool. Sticking with Iron Hands, now let's talk about Miraidon. What do you think about Miraidon?
I thought it was really hyped at first, and I think it's died off because Raging Bolt absolutely farms it. I'm not. I actually shouldn't say that because I don't know what the matchup is actually because I've never played it. But in my mind, it farms it, and I think Miraidon had a lot of hype going in, and then people realized, hey, you don't have the card that made this really good in the first place. You don't have Flaffy. So after your generators are gone, your deck is kind of cooked. And the other problem is like with HP just like kind of creeping up and up and up. It doesn't help a deck like Miraidon that Flaffy rotates because you needed Flaffy to really retain Raichus and do things like that. So I do think Miraidon has a place. I don't know what its place is yet, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be very strong, at least from my initial thought process.
Yeah, I mean, it won the Japan tournament.
Yeah.
But I guess that might have been more like that Lugia was really popular, and it apparently is good into Dragapult, I guess, because you put pressure, you play Raichu, you play EXP shares. But I think maybe now that Ogerpon is seeing play, it might not be as good. But yeah, it seems like decent. It's probably like a B tier deck.
I just feel like you don't do anything like really better than Ogerpon. Like it feels like they're just a faster, more consistent version of you.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
So I don't know. It's aight.
Yeah,
it'll be
it's
okay.
aight.
I think. Like, yeah, it's just aight, bro.
True. Okay, our tier listing is all out of whack. Okay, I'll fix that after. But
Shift Gear Editor is gonna be going hard.
Okay, so I'd say what's next? We have Blissey next. So Blissey with Monkey Dory. I was really excited to try this deck. I mean, Blissey's ability is very similar to Shift Gear. One of the greatest abilities of all time. It's only 1 energy a turn, but you can play multiple Blisseys. I mean, the deck farms. what's it called? Dragapult, but like it struggles against like pretty much everything else. It doesn't do a lot of damage. If you can one shot a Blissey, like stuff like the Raging Bolt, like even like decks like Chien-Pao or Lugia can eventually one shot with Minccino or Cinccino. So I don't think it's good enough. It's probably, like, if I'm being honest, like a C tier deck just because it only has one good matchup. I'm sure it has some other matchups that are fine, but I don't think it's good enough. What are you thinking, Neil?
I feel like I'm getting flashbacks of NAIC 2022 when I believe it was Blissey V was a deck, and there's Blissey V's not everywhere, but there was a small percentage of people that just kept playing Blissey because it did the same thing. It was just like this big ass beat stick that didn't really do much else, but it just attacked for damage, and it ended up actually, I think, showing up a little bit in day 2 at least. So like I envision the same kind of thing. I envision a very low kind of tier 3 variant that might get broken somehow by someone, but like it doesn't feel like it does a whole lot besides just sit there and look pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd love for it to be good.
Yeah,
I just
me
don't
too.
think it will be.
Cool. Okay, last deck I have on the tier list is Arctina, Aneil.
Oh god.
Try and make the case for me why I should put it above F tier. Actually, we don't even have
I can't.
F tier.
I literally can't. Like everything that was good about the deck doesn't feel that good anymore. There's decks that are a lot more aggressive than you. The reason why Arctina was good in this format, and you're not going to agree with me when I say this, but the reason why it was good is because it was just so good at being mid. Like it was just you're gonna get Trinity Nova every game. You're gonna get it on turn 2, and you do the simplest things, but you do the simplest things so well that you almost run over a lot of decks. Like most of my wins, I would say like I think my record in tournaments with Arctina is like something ridiculous, but most of my wins, and I don't want to put it to a complete stat, but a lot of them are just running people over. You play 4 boss, you're playing Trinity Nova, you're bossing, KOing, whatever it is, and you're putting them on a 1-turn clock because you're loading this big ass thing that does 280. The issue is now, if you burn your Starbirth early and you don't have a way to fetch out your max belt, you're never KOing a Dragapult because Dragapult doesn't have weakness. So the reason why Arctina was good into Charizard, at least so to speak, is because you had leaves, and Charizard was weak to grass. So you only needed to max belt swing once. Your line was normally Trinity Nova twice in Charizard, Iron Leaves, and then max belt swing. You don't have that against Dragapult. That's a big issue. Likewise, you don't have the same kind of versatility into Raging Bolt. I think if Teal Mask Ogerpon at 200, we're having a totally different conversation because you can at least Trinity Nova through it. But you need a max belt to kill every single one of these things, and you're not doing that. So like the emergence of these big dragon Pokemon without weakness, and Ark's ability over the years was to be like, hey, I'm going to play an attacker that has a weakness to all these popular types, and I'm going to destroy you with that attacker. You no longer really have that versatility. So I was actually thinking like running a masterclass in Arctina. I was like, hey, why not, right? And then I was like, wait, this deck sucks going into the next format. I don't want to do this. So I hope to be proven wrong. It seems like Arc never really goes away, and maybe someone will find a way to do it. But in my initial like findings, and I just don't see a whole lot going for it.
If you had to tell me like one Arc build that's the best, which one's the best? Do you think? Is there a viable
Like
one?
going into Twilight?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. Maybe Arc Armor Rouge.
Okay.
Like, it feels like that one has the most tools available to it. Like you're gonna be able to at least like deal with some stuff. The issue is you still don't have anything that can one-shot Dragapult. You can't really deal with Raging Bolt. Actually, you can deal with Raging Bolt with Mew EX if you copy it, but like
they outtrade you still, I think.
Yeah, you also have Gouging Fire, which does deal with Raging Bolt, which is actually really good now that I think about it. You can also one-shot Teal Mask with Armor Rouge Babies, which is also pretty good. Maybe there is a little bit of potential here. I'm not saying anything, but I do think that's probably the one with the best potential.
Yeah, that's fair.
You got some things going for you.
Yeah, I mean, I will never play Arceus, so.
Yeah, I know.
Cool. I think that's all the decks. And did I forget any?
No, I think you got all of them. I'm just trying to think, unless we're counting Diplin, but I don't think we're counting Diplin as real deck.
I have not played Diplin,
Festival
so I
Browns.
can't give my opinion.
It was fun at pre-release. I think the pre-release was definitely the worst pre-release format we've had in Scarlet and Violet, I think. I didn't like the way the cards were designed. I know you don't play pre-releases, so you have no interest in this, but I do think we need to do better on the pre-releases, TPCI, please.
Nice.
This was very unfun. I did not have a good time.
Well, also, my Discord server, they all went to a pre-release, and they're saying it was fun. So, like, maybe I should go to one time and play.
You really should. Like, I literally go for fun at this point. Like, I don't even want the cards. Like, I was just going for fun. I went to like 6 of them in Twilight Masquerade, and I think like I have like 2 cards still from those pre-releases that I kept around. Like, I don't care. Get the cards, sell them, break even, just have the entertainment value. It's like going to the casino. You know,
Yeah.
when you go to the casino and you come out even, you're like, all right, I bought entertainment value. It's
Yeah.
basically the same
No,
thing.
that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, makes sense. Maybe I'll go for the next set. Let's go to Banana Games.
Yeah. Yeah, Banana Games pre-release. It was actually really, really fun. I had a competition with Alex Young, shout out him, on who could riffle the hell out of their decks more. We both didn't use sleeves, and we pulled EXs, and we just destroyed our cards. It was the most fun I think I've ever had. Like,
What EX did you
it was
pull?
like going to a rage room. This one.
Oh, that card sucks. There's no wonder you're riffling.
Yeah, it sucked.
It
Oh, I
was
was riffling the hell out of this.
Ogerpon
Watch
Fire
this.
for people who.
Hang on, where is it? All right, see, this is a glass of water. This is
Oh,
Ogerpon Fire.
Come on, bro.
Goodbye, Ogerpon Fire.
Bro.
It has been
I would
watered.
have taken your Ogerpon Fire.
Well, it's gone now. Too bad.
I don't know if I have an Ogre. Actually, I got a bunch of cards from Banana Games. Shout out them for blessing me.
Actually, it's kind of sick in like a glass.
they
Like,
gave
just
me
kind of
one.
held up like this.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there you go.
So
I have
here-
like 5.
Well, okay.
He
Well,
gave me one too.
I was gonna say if you needed one, Neil, I have one for you. So
Thanks, man.
I
My
also-
50-cent bulk card.
Yeah,
It has now been dipped in water.
I have my 4
But I'll keep it, though.
Blissies. I've got my Dragapults. I have 2 Iron Thorns. I'm not ready to play Quad Thorns.
Not yet, eh?
I'm ready to play Greninja. I have 4 Teal Mask Ogerpons. I'm ready to play Raging Bolt.
Yep.
Actually, I don't own
Good,
I
man.
own 1 Raging Bolt. I pulled from a random pack from like a league challenge or something. So
That's hilarious. Yo, you know I totally dumped this thing and it's actually salvageable. Like, it feels fine.
nice.
Anyways, all right, we're yapping. Okay, that is our tier list. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. We do appreciate all of you for being here. Please do hit that subscribe button if you can. We are going to have a NAIC full preview video next week. That is the plan as of now. We're hoping to get somebody on as well with us to kind of give another insight. But we are going to give you absolutely everything we know going into the NAIC format, and we hope to see you back next week. Jack Knight Burst, please let us know about those packs. We want to give them to you, and let me know how bad my Japanese was. Have anything to add there, Kieran?
No, I think you summed it up perfectly.
Sweet. All right, guys. Have a good week. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Later.